ICook Foods, it seems, is never out of the headlines recently, and emerging from its ruins is the Dairy Aboriginal Corporation of South Australia. Now, Dairy was set to take a 10% stake in ICook when on that very day the representatives arrived to hand Ian Cook a $2.5 million cheque. Brett Sutton shut ICook down. The deal would have created hundreds of jobs and a new national network of texture modification of native food in South Australia, with a vision to develop a national network tailored for a region. Joining us today to tell us about this further impact is Ian Cook. Good morning, Ian.
Good morning, Michael. How are you?
The ripple effects of Sutton's actions just continue and continue. So not only a 40-year family business with over 40 employees gone, but potentially hundreds of jobs for the Dairy Corporation. How is this not a further outrage?
Look, Michael, we've, as a business, we employed a lot of disabled people, and we didn't do it for marketing purposes. We did it to help. We're a family business, and we believe that, we should be giving back to the community. Part of the negotiations that have been happening in the 18 months prior to our closure was with a social worker who was very engaged with the Dairy Aboriginal Corporation in South Australia. They were concerned about the nutrition of both the young and the vulnerable within their communities, and they saw some of the work that we were doing as a way to be able to help and fix some of those problems. Sorry, Michael. Anyway, the negotiations have been going on for some period of time. And as you said, Sutton closed us on Friday the 22nd, 4 a.m. in the morning. Monday the 25th, so the very first trading day, or should have been trading day, the CEO and the chairman of Dairy had organised to come in with a guy called Uppy, who was he did a lot of their programs and helped a lot of their youth. They were to come in, have a look at production, see the things we were doing, and basically shake on the deal and say, okay, let's get moving. They'd already done most of the due diligence, et cetera, et cetera. Now, obviously in the court cases and things, these things come up. Once again, we didn't put this out there for any other reason except that we'd been asked a few questions by people who see what happens to the Aboriginal community regularly, and they said, well, this is an outrage. Where you've got a group who wants to take control of their nutrition within their community and to help improve it. And remember, this was to set up a facility in Port Augusta as well. If I can put it as an analogy, they weren't just buying fish from us. They wanted to learn new methods of fishing so that they could improve what they were doing with their community. And a lot of vulnerable people in the community who maybe can't afford dental work end up needing texture modified foods because of their dental issues. So it's not always just about swallowing or the normal things you would think of. It can cover a range of areas. And obviously very young children need good nutrition. The other thing too is the products and the way we do things allowed them to texture modify without dilution, so you had the full nutritional value and it could be culturally specific.
Now, are you aware of Dairy being able to go on and do anything in this field since you were shut down?
No, I don't believe so. One of the things that the CEO and the chairman had said, so Alex, who was going to try and be with us today but couldn't, he'd done most of the negotiating with them and he had worked with us. He said, really, they looked at it and said, if this could be done to a family business without the length of time we've been around, etc., then it could happen to them too. And he said that there are some people who are vested in them not succeeding, and they just became very nervous. We have been contacted by people who were part of that program, and we're going to, who've said they'd like to talk about maybe some ideas being revisited. But yeah, as far as I know, nothing else has happened.
Are we any further along as far as the claim goes with your court action, the civil action against the government?
Well, no. So I'm not sure. Whenever I last spoke to you, we'd had a directions hearing, and the registrar has reserved his judgment, and so far we've heard no more. So it's all effectively in abeyance until he makes a judgment on issues that came up in the directions hearing. So yeah, I can't tell you any more. No more dates. Nothing. We don't know anything. I think we have been told that it's part of the tactic of our government to slow things down. If they slow it down and they are able to make sure we don't get into court quickly, then maybe they think they won't have to worry with an election coming up. They can push it out past that. I don't know.
Now, I would assume that the dairy corporation would make up part of the claim for damages that you're seeking. You also had substantial overseas contracts ready to go after winning all those awards, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
And how much value?
Yes, that's right. We had signed agreements with the UAE that would have totaled approximately $26 million, and another agreement with South America that was around $14 million. This is all part of our claim. We have, as like I said in the beginning, we don't go out and trade on the fact that we did this with this group or that with that group. We were concentrating on making sure that the products we did for the people that we were servicing was the best we could do. And in doing so, we developed some unique IP. And that's all this boils down to. And then by closing us and doing what they did, it means that some of the most vulnerable within our community haven't had the advantage of these products. And to put that in perspective, when the very first sort of mini clinical trial that was done using our products versus the traditional ways of doing texture modified showed an increase in weight on the patient that they were measuring, substantial. Like he put on 4 or 5 kilos within a month. And the nurses wrote back to us and said, it is quite extraordinary. He wants to eat. He likes it. It looks right. It tastes right. And it's got the full nutritional value. Yeah. So that's what a lot of people have missed. And that's a sad thing.
Yep. So just to recap, we've lost the opportunity for Dairy Aboriginal Corporation to create hundreds of jobs, own a 10% stake, and actually have some autonomy and some control over their own health and welfare going forward. And that's just been shattered by this decision.
Yeah, because the whole deal was not based on, it wasn't based on, just a business, its viability or its cash flow, the normal things that you would do if you were going out to buy a business. This whole deal was based on us training them and showing them how to do what we did. That's what was important in it. That's exactly what they saw. That's where they saw the value. And as I say, and it wasn't just about, texture modify was a very important part of it. And also they wanted to be able to do it with culturally specific foods. But there was other things we were doing that others hadn't quite got right. And we were actually asked to go over to Port Augusta and to do a presentation with the elders. Now, these were women that they refer to as the aunties, and they are the senior members within those cultural groups. And we were asked. They actually sent us, kangaroo tail, some different cuts of kangaroo that is locally killed, and we processed that and showed them how it could be taken, held in refrigeration, how it was safe. You could take it out and heat it up in a billy so it could go and walk about with them. There were a whole range of things. They were lovely people, and they loved everything that we did with that product, and that's what they wanted. They wanted to have that technology for themselves in Port Augusta to help their own community.
Fantastic and forward-thinking opportunity that has just been shattered here, and I don't see a lot of other people rushing to fill this need.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, that was something about us. I mean, we didn't, like I said, we never used these, the deals with these people for marketing. We didn't go out and say, hey, buy off us because we look after the Indigenous. That we just dealt with everyone as if they were part of our family. So if whatever food we did, we wanted to make it right. The whole reason we ended up doing the texture modified the way we did it is because if you go back 7 or 8 years, I was standing at the end of the line looking at the way we were doing it, which was like the way everybody else did it, you know, and you've seen the photos of blobs on plates. And I looked at it and thought, this is just not right. There's got to be a better way of doing this. And then over the next, 4 or 5 years, we developed what ends up being world-leading technology in texture modification, undiluted, looks real, has the form of the it started with. So you've got dignity in dining, you've got nutrition that's improved, all of that. And as I say, and we did it, why? We didn't do it because we had this great idea of making money and starting a business. We did it to improve what we were doing for the vulnerable that we were servicing.
And what especially at the moment with the focus on the plight of those in our aged care facilities, just a horrific outcome for a business that hopefully we can see some justice sooner rather than later and make sure this never happens again. So, Ian, thanks so much for your time. We look forward to having you back, hopefully, with a just resolution sooner rather than later.
No worries. Thanks very much, Mike.
Thanks, Ian.